Okay, thank you for coming again. And we have seen so far built-in methods or functions. We've seen the methods or function available in the math class and those available in the string class. And you've seen how we call them and how to find what are those methods and what they do for you. There are lots of documentation around. If you just go in Google and search for Java math class, and you will get all the explanation of different methods in that class, and you know what needed. But now we need to talk about something different, which user-defined functions, a function that we create, not the one already there. Of course, we will use what's there, but sometime for your application, you need to create your own functions because there are certain process you repeat multiple times. So you need to just create a function and then call it again, or you want to improve your code. And there are two reasons why people look at functions, user-defined function. And these are the two reasons here on the screen. It's in the manual that we have, which you can access it from here, and you click, you'll find it there. So the two reasons, one is you structure your code. If you have a long code, very messy code, difficult to understand, when you start breaking it down to smaller function and each function doing only one thing, not more than one thing, and then your code will be more readable, and you also can find errors and do debugging with less challenges than a long code. And the second reason behind it is you reuse your code. You notice in the math and the string function, those functions already there. When I need it, I use it again. I don't need to write it. It's already written. And here again, I will write a function once, then I use it as much I want to. So that's one important thing. Now, when you name the function, you have to follow the same thing with the variables, which we discussed in the previous lab in lab 2. But what I have to say here is you have to follow a naming convention. When naming method or a function, you should start by the first word in your function name, lowercase. And then the second word, the first letter is capital or uppercase. If there is a third word you have, it should be no space between them, the two words, and then the first letter of the third word should be uppercase, and so on. This way, people recognize your functions easily, because that's how Java programmers or the programmers are naming their methods. And the naming convention is very important to improve the readability, the communication with other programmers. So make sure you follow that naming convention, and we will try to do that when we do it. Now the function, there are many types of functions. We were looking at the class, for example, string. We saw two uppercase. Two uppercase does not receive any parameters. And let's go back and just look at them here. It's still the same example, but let's say name equal name dot. See, those are the function. You see this function we have, this is one called intern. Intern does not receive any parameters, but it returns string. Okay. If you look at another function like two lowercase, the same thing, receive nothing but return string. Okay, because this is a string class, everything you see return back is string. But if you put the math, all numbers will be double, integer, float, things like that. And we can look at them in a few minutes. Some of them receiving many parameters. For example, if you look at replace all receive two parameters you have here. If you look at copy a value of, it receives one parameter of type of something called array, which we'll come back to it, and return a string. This function value of receive a boolean, true or false, and return string. Okay, and so on. This one receiving long or int, this one int, value of receiving int, integer value, and returning string. Okay, and many, this one returning in stream, which we will not be discussing in this course. And this one, for example, returning a byte as array, receiving nothing, get bytes, and returning byte. So each function has some of that. So the function you can see here, most of them either receive and return, or do not receive and return. Okay, or receive and return. Okay, so we have number of functions. The first one, function A, for example, this function receive nothing and return nothing. When it's return nothing, you will get void. You get void, mean doesn't return anything. If the function return nothing, when you create it, you use void. So void is a way to ensure it's not returning anything, and it's receiving nothing because no data type in between those two brackets. Here, this one receiving nothing but returning double. So there's a function that receives nothing and return a value. The third function we have is that receive variable but return nothing. Okay, and the last one is the powerful one that does everything: receive parameters and also return a value of that. So these are the four type of functions. We will now work on this function and create some new function. Let's just go here and create a new REPL, Java. We'll call it, rename it, user defined methods 1. Okay, so maybe we'll have another one. So I know many of you maybe do not like to time wasted in writing system.out.println. So you want to create your own function. So instead of every time typing system.out.println, we just write print. What can we do? We can create our own function. So we go outside the main function. This is the main function from here to here. Yeah, the main function started here, ended here. Okay, you go outside and before the last curly brace here. Okay, so we come here and we create a new function. So public static void, and we'll call it println. And instead of print, we'll have println. Okay, and this one will take, say, string as s, and then what it does, this is a function we created now. So we're coming with a new function called println. Okay, so this println will print for us anything we want to print. So we can copy this one now from here and put it inside. Okay, and instead of this, we'll put s. And let me explain again. Sorry, I pressed something and something came. Okay, let me explain again. So this is a new function we created. We call it println. It receives a string as s, and then what it does, basically print that s on the screen. And we created this function outside the main function. It can be before the main function or after the main function. It doesn't make difference. The important thing, it should be outside the main function, not inside the body of the main function. And it should be before the end of the class. If you make a mistake and do something like this, it will not work because this method now is outside your class. It's not part of your class. Okay? So we are here. So it is after the main function and inside the class. Now we have this new one. Now we have the advantage to use it now. So print ln, and let's pass to it Hamad. Okay, semicolon. Now if I do this now and run, I'll get on the screen Hamad Udabi. See, that's it, Hamad Udabi. I have a warning there because this one I don't need, just added by Ripple because I clicked on something. Now that's it. Now if you can use it to also do, say I have a value X, it will cause an error. Why? Because it's expecting me to send a string, not a number. Okay, and let's say double X equal 100 semicolon. 100 semicolon. Let's run it and run it now. Okay, now it's not working because it's saying X is not really string. So what I can do in this case, I can create another function. I'll copy this function here, I'll create another function here, and I just change this one to double, and I can call it D if I want, or leave it as it is, doesn't make difference. Now I have two functions with the name print, but each one has a different thing. One is receiving string, one is receiving double. So if I run it now, what I'll get correct. So now my two functions are there. I can even call it by adding x equal space plus x. If I do this, what do you think I'll get? I'll get that. So what I did now, I created my own function. I hate or don't like system.out.println. So I created a function, my own function called println. From now on, I'll use println instead of system.out.println because that's too long taking time to type it. Let me just go and use println. And this is how to create your function. Java allows you to create multiple functions with the same name, provided the data you are passing or returning are different. You cannot have two functions doing the same thing. So if a function is receiving string here, for example, it will not work. Because why? There's already function receiving string and returning nothing. See? So it doesn't work. So what we better to use is just to make sure each function doing something different. And this our function now doing something different. Okay, so both functions, one is receiving string, one receiving is double. So the two functions are doing different. So these are functions you can create. And a good example, now we created our own println. Now assume I don't want to print ln, I want to print. So if I copy these two here and make this one only print, use only print, and change the name here to only print, this one only print. Now I have four functions. If the user inputting something, let's show example here. So let's import java.utility dot star semicolon. What's happening here? Import. I pressed somewhere caused issue for my computer. Import, yeah. So we added import, and I come here. Let me just remove all these things here in the main function, and let's create use scanner. You have done this before. Scanner input equal new scanner, and open bracket system dot n. Okay, and now I want to say double x semicolon. Let's leave it there, and I come here. That's okay. So I come here and say print, only print, yeah. Enter your salary, for example, yeah, semicolon. So far there's nothing special. I get just enter your salary there, yeah. Now I want to get the data, so I can say X or salary. Let's call it salary, okay, and we'll say here salary equal, remember we use input dot next double, okay. So this one will return. Now if I run it, see the difference between this one and other one. Now when I come here, I can enter the salary here, okay. Now if I use only print ln, if I use print ln, see what will happen now. I'll get this and I'll get salary on the second line, which I don't want to be the case, yeah. So salary on the second line. But if I want it to come on the same line, I can just use print. And these are two functions we created, which I think will be useful. The only challenge with it, if you want to use these two functions, every time you create a new code, you need to copy these two functions. Or we put them in a class outside. We create a class and put them in and call it. This is not for this course. We will study later object-oriented programming, and we will be creating classes. We will not be working all in the main class. We'll be creating multiple classes, calling them, creating relation between them. Lots of fun we will have in the CIS 2403 in the future. What we covered is how to declare functions, and we looked at only functions that do not return a value. So we have void here. In the next video, we will look at function that will return a value. So it takes a parameter and then do some calculation and return the value.